Quality Center was initially a test management tool developed by Mercury Interactive. It is now developed by HP as Application LifeCycle Management Tool, or ALM, that supports various phases of the software development lifecycle. ALM is a web-based tool that helps organizations to manage the application lifecycle right from project planning and requirements gathering until testing and deployment, which otherwise is a time-consuming task. ALM also provides integration to all other HP products, such as UFT and LoadRunner. Why use HP ALM? The various stakeholders involved in a typical project are the developer, tester, business analysts, project managers, and product owners. These stakeholders perform diverse sets of activities that need to be communicated to all concerned team members. If we do not maintain a centralized repository to record, maintain, and track all the artifacts related to the project will unquestionably fail. We also need a mechanism to document and collaborate on all testing and development activities. Enter HP ALM. It enables all the stakeholders to interact and coordinate to achieve the project goals. It provides robust tracking and reporting and seamless integration of various project-related tasks. It enables detailed project analysis and effective management. ALM can connect to our email systems and send emails without any changes, like requirement change, defect raising, etc., to all desired team members. Evolution of ALM. It is important to understand the history of ALM. Quality Center was earlier known as Test Director, which was developed by Mercury Interactive. In 2008, version 8 was released, and the product was renamed as Quality Center. Later, HP acquired Mercury Interactive and rebranded all Mercury products as HP. So, Mercury Quality Center became HP Quality Center. In 2011, version 11 was released, and Quality Center was rechristened as HP ALM. HP ALM Editions. HP ALM is a commercial licensed tool, and HP distributes ALM in 4 different flavors. Each one of the licenses allows users to access certain ALM functions. Let's study why you would purchase a particular version and whom it is suited for. HP ALM. This license is a best fit for organizations that need complete access to all modules to support the entire development and test lifecycle. HP ALM Essentials. This is for corporations that need just the basic features for supporting their entire software lifecycle. It has access to requirements management, test management, and defect management. HP QC Enterprise Edition. This license holds good for corporations who would like to use ALM exclusively for testing purposes. It also provides integration with Unified Functional Tester. And HP ALM Performance Center Edition. This license best suits organizations who would like to use HP ALM to drive HP LoadRunner scripts. It helps the user to maintain, manage, schedule, execute, and monitor performance tests. ALM Workflow. To learn the ALM workflow, let's first study a typical test process. We begin with planning and drafting, release details, determine the number of cycles in each release, and scope of each release. For a given release and cycle, we draft the requirements specifications. Based on the requirements, test plans and test cases are created. The next stage is executing the created test plan. The next stage in this test process is tracking and fixing the defects detected in the execution stage. And during all stages, analysis is done and reports and graphs are generated for test metric generation. HP ALM provides a module catering to each stage of the testing process. We will study them in detail in later tutorials.
In a web browser, enter the quality center URL. This is the quality center homepage. Enter a username and a valid password. Click the authenticate button. If authentication is successful, the domain and project drop-down are activated. Now, what is domain name and project? In large organizations, there could be multiple projects live at the same time, like ERP, CRM, banking, IP telephony, and so on. Now, under each IT domain, there could be multiple independent testing teams working. For example, under banking domain, there could be a team on net banking, treasury management, investment banking, stocks, and so on. Now, for efficient organization, this data is classified in projects under various domains. You need to select the project you are currently working on and click Login. Alternatively, you have an option to automatically enter your last logged in domain by clicking this icon. Okay. In my particular case, I'll select the domain. This is the Mercury Quality Center startup page. You can just close this. Now this is the Quality Center home page. The sidebar gives you the shortcut buttons to various modules, requirements, test plan, test lab, defects. The top bar gives you the various options: back, next, tools, helps, and so on. And this is the module related function bar. So that's the Quality Center homepage. Let's look at the requirements module. Requirements module is used to store all requirements related to a testing project. Requirements are specified in Quality Center by creating a requirements tree. Requirements tree is a graphical representation of requirement specifications, something like this. Requirements can be grouped, sorted, and monitored in the requirements pane. Requirements can also be linked to tests created in test plan module and defects in defects module. Later on, if a test requirement changes, you can immediately identify the affected test cases and defects. Let's go ahead and do the following activities in the required modules. Create a parent and child requirement. View a requirement. Modify a requirement. So let's look in the QC. In Quality Center, make sure you are in the requirements module. To define a new requirement, you can click the new requirement button, or alternatively, you can choose requirements, new requirements. The new requirements dialog box opens. The fields that appear in the dialog box can be customized using the administrator ID. The mandatory fields are highlighted in red with an asterisk. The name field gives the name of the requirement. The author field gives the creator of the requirement. The cover status field specifies whether the test created for this requirement is failed, passed, or any other status. The modify field specifies the date requirement was changed. The priority specifies the priority of the requirement. The product field specifies the product for which the requirement is created. Review field specifies whether the requirement is reviewed or not by the reviewer. The type field specifies whether the requirement is a software or hardware requirement. Let's create a requirement with the name demo requirement. For your note, the application under test would be our Yahoo website. In the description, enter this is. Click submit. The demo requirement is added to the requirements tree. Now let's quickly add a child requirement to this new demo requirement. To add a child requirement, click the button Child Requirement or select Requirements, New Child Requirements. The New Child Requirements dialog box. The input fields that appear here are very much the same as that for a new requirement. Let's name this requirement as Child 1. The description being Enhance login functionality of Yahoo. Click Submit. The child 1 requirement is added as a child requirement for the demo requirement as shown here. Now, let's quickly add another child requirement to the demo requirement. Name of the requirement being child 2. Description being enhance the search functionality of Yahoo. Mind you, these requirements are vague and are drafted only to understand the tool and not actually implement the requirement. Click the submit button. The child 2 requirement is created and appears as a child of the demo requirement. So that's you creating a requirement and child requirements. Let's now see how requirements once created can be viewed. QC provides lots of options to view a requirement like the tree view, grid view, enumerations, and so on. Let's look at them one at a time. In the requirement modules, make sure you have selected the tree view of the requirements. The tree view is a hierarchical view where parent and child requirements are shown in nodes and subnodes respectively. To narrow down on a particular requirement, select the requirement and click View, Zoom, Zoom in. To move out and see the root folder, click View, Zoom, Zoom out. To assign hierarchical numbers to each requirement in the tree, choose View, Enumerations. This numbering is not related to the unique requirement ID to each requirement. To hide enumerations, choose View, Enumerations. Let's select View, Requirements Grid. This is the grid, which is a flat, non-hierarchical view. Each line in grid displays a separate requirement. To filter the requirements, click the filter icon. Here, you can choose an array of selection criteria. Let's select creation date as today. Click OK. The grid shows the 3 requirements that were created today. So, the requirements grid is particularly useful in filtering and sorting of requirements. So that's through view requirement. Also, requirements can be copied, cut, pasted, renamed, and deleted. Let's copy child to requirement and paste it as a child of the parent requirement demo. To do this, right-click on the child to requirement, click copy, select the demo requirement, click paste. Since there is a conflict in the naming, a pop-up is shown. Click OK, and QC automatically appends the name of the child requirement with the name copy_1. Let's rename this requirement as child3. Now, let's cut the child3 requirement and paste it as a child requirement of the new requirement. Child3 is now a child requirement of the parent requirement new requirement. You can also delete a requirement. Select child3, click the delete icon, confirm, and child3 is deleted. So QC supports requirement modification to the fullest. So that's through the requirements module. Now let's create a test to verify the basic search functionality of Yahoo and see how automated test scripts are created. The obvious steps for verifying the search functionality of any application would be launch the application site, enter the search keyword, say for example cars, verify whether the search results are displayed. If you notice, the first step is already created in Yahoo login test, right? So there is no need of creating the step again. It can be copied from that location. We begin with creating a new test. With name, search. The first step I'll copy from Yahoo_login test and paste directly. Step 2 would be enter search keyword and click the search button. Expected results. Keyword can be entered. And button can be pressed. The last step for this very simple verification would be verify whether search results are displayed. Expected results would be search results should be displayed. Click OK. So in this way, the three steps, that is, open the Yahoo website, enter the search keyword, and verify the search results are displayed or not, can be created. Now, to automate this test, click the Generate Script icon, select the tool for automation. In our case, I'll select Quick Test Professional. Quality Center will automatically generate a pseudo structure of a script displayed in the Test Script tab. QC gives the skeleton for the script depending upon the manual steps. Mind you, this script cannot be directly used for automation. Scripting needs to be done. If you click the Quality Center icon, the automation tool, that is Q2P, will be launched. This is the Q2P tool. The automation expert can record the automated steps. Once the automation expert has finished recording the test, click Save, and the script will be saved in Quality Center. You can close the automation tool and check the updated script in Quality Center. All the modifications made are saved. But all basic modification operations like cut, copy, paste, renaming can be done on a test. Test can be emailed as well by right-clicking on the test and clicking Send by email and entering the email ID. Also, test steps can be edited, renumbered, deleted, copied, pasted. Maybe some attachment could be combined with the test, called, just like call by reference in programming language instead of call by copy, and can be parameterized. So that's all to test planning. Also, you can link test and requirement. The linking process can happen in two ways: linking test with requirement and linking requirement with test. Let's look at them one at a time. Let's link the yahoo.login test with its corresponding requirement. To do so, click the Requirement Coverage tab. Click the Select Requirement icon. Select the child one requirement. Click the Add icon, and the requirement is linked. Now let's see how to link requirement with a test. Let's link the child2 requirement with the Yahoo underscore search test. Click the requirements module. Select the child2 requirement. In the requirement details dialog box, click the coverage button. Select the test to be linked. Click the add icon, and the test is added to the requirement. So that's to the test plan module. the test lab module. The test lab module is used to run the test cases. The test run process begins with creating the test set tree and then running the test. Initially, a test set folder is created. Depending on the testing goals, you can add test to the test set folder. Test sets can include both manual and automated tests. You can include the same test in different test sets or add a few test instances to the same test set. You can set the date and time of execution of the test sets. The process flow in the test lab is: create a test set, schedule a test, run a test. Let's look at them one at a time. In the test lab module, click the new folder icon. The new folder dialog box opens. Give the folder name as sample. Click OK. The sample folder is now reflected in the test lab hierarchy. Select the sample folder. Click the icon New Test Set. The New Test Set dialog box opens. Enter the test set name as demo. In the description, you can write this test set verifies basic login and search functionality of Yahoo. Click OK. The test set is created and is reflected under the sample folder. In the test set properties, the default open date is the date of creation of the test set and the status is by default open. You can enter an estimated close date for the test set, when you expect to finish the testing. The notification properties empower you to send a mail to a concerned authority in case a test case fails due to network damages or a test runs completely. In the On Failure tab, you can specify various settings in event of an automated script failure. The attachments can be used to associate relevant testware. In the execution grid, you can select the test to be executed from the test plan module. Add the login and search test from the test plan module. The default status is no run. Now our test set is ready. The next step is to schedule a test. The execution flow tab gives the order and flow of execution of test. You can specify a test to run on a specific date and time or based on a condition. Test condition would be test 2 will run only if test 1 is passed or finished. To specify a date constraint, double click on the test, Yahoo login. In the Run Schedule dialog box, click on the Time Dependency tab. Specify a date and a time to run the test. Click OK. A clock icon is shown in the execution flow to signify the particular test is scheduled. To specify a condition, double-click on the Yahoo search test in the Execution Conditions tab. Click the new icon. Select the Yahoo login test. The condition should be finished. Click OK. Click OK to close the run scheduled test. You can observe the execution flow is now demo, Yahoo login, and Yahoo search, signifying execution of Yahoo search is based on the execution results of Yahoo login. Once the time dependency and the execution conditions are set, a notification is set to the tester to start the testing on the scheduled day. Also, tests can be run only if the condition specified is met with. The third step, running a test. Test can be run in two ways, manual or automatic. For our learning purposes, let's ignore the scheduling done previously. In the execution grid, let's first look at manual run. In the execution grid, select the Yahoo login script. Click the run button. The manual runner dialog box opens. Click begin run. As soon as you click begin run, the test steps are shown and have a default status as no run. Click on compact view icon, which enables you to see the description and the expected results of the test steps. The flow of manual execution now is to execute a step and update the actual results. The first step expects to launch a browser and enter URL as yahoo.com. The browser is launched. Enter URL as yahoo.com. The expected result in this case is Yahoo homepage should be shown. You can update the actual result as perhaps as expected. Click the next step icon, which displays the step 2. Step 2 would be enter a username and password. Expected result would be user must log on. I can enter the username and password and update the actual result. Let's assume the user was signed on successfully. Step 3 would be when you run an automated test, Quality Center opens the selected testing tool automatically, runs a test on your local machine on a remote host, and exports the results to Quality Center. Know that you can run all tests in a test set or run specific test. You can run tests from Execution Grid tab or Execution Flow tab. Let's select an automated test script. In our case, the Yahoo search test. Click Run to run the test. The automatic runner dialog box shows. You have an option to run the test on a remote machine by providing the IP address of the machine here, or you can run it locally. Let's select the Yahoo _search script and click the run button. The QTP window is launched. And the test is executed. The result generated is updated in Quality Center. The test has failed. The test has failed since the verification was not possible. Click the Launch Report button to see the report generated by the testing tool. So this is how automated scripts are run. Defects module. Defects tracking is done at Defects module. It is used to keep all data related to defects. Defects can be added at any stage. Defects can be added in TestLab module while running a test case. It can be done by clicking on the New Defect button in Defects module. Also, we can add defects by importing from an Excel. The various functionalities that can be done in a defects module are: create a defect, modify a defect, email a defect, link a defect, add defect to favorites. Let's look at them one at a time. Let's create a defect for the defect detected earlier in the Yahoo search script. In Quality Center, in the Defects module, click the New Defects button. The New Defect dialog box is shown. In the Summary field, enter a short summary of the defect. In the Detected By field, enter the ID of the person who has detected the defect. You can set the priority of defect from emergency to severity 3. Let's say it's a severity 2 defect. Since the defect is newly created, the status is obviously new. The project team is the same as used while log on. Specify the test client on which the testing was done, the type of work, these are the various fields associated with the defect, maybe the requirement release assigned, the actual completion date, the test data details, the project identification number, if the defect is modified or not, the developer ID, whether the defect is reportable or not, the production date. In the script, you can write in length about the defect to make it comprehensible to the developer. Click Submit. A new defect is created with ID 4940 as shown here. The next functionality that you can do is modify a defect. Say suppose you want to change the defect from severity level 2 to emergency. Double click on the defect. The defect details dialog box is shown. Change the severity from level 2 to emergency. Click OK. You can link a test in your test plan to a specific defect in the defects grid. Linkage is helpful when a new test is created for an existing defect or there is a change in requirements which is linked to a defect. Linkage can be done directly or indirectly. When you directly link a defect to a run, Quality Center indirectly links the defect to the test instance, test set, test, and requirements. However, the linkage is unidirectional, that is, when you link a defect to run, it is not indirectly linked to a run step. So it's always in the forward direction, never in the backward direction. Let's look at the linkage in QC. In the test plan module, select the Yahoo test. In the Link Defects tab, click Link Existing Defect. Enter the defect ID. The defect we have created is now linked to our test. Creating favorite views. You can create favorite view in Quality Center window with the settings you applied to it. For example, in Defects Grid, you may want to apply a filter to defects detected by you or assigned to you, or maybe in closed status. A favorite view can be public or private. Private favorite is visible only to you. Public favorite is visible to all QC users. In the Defects module, click Filter and Sort button. In the Filter dialog box, populate the detected by ID by the ID of the author. Click OK. All defects created by the ID KR2625 are displayed. To add this view to favorites, in Favorites menu, click Add to Favorites. Enter name as My Detected Defects. Click OK. The favorite is now reflected in the favorite drop-down. Why requirement traceability is required. Evolving requirements. If requirements change, it is important to identify when and why they change so the QA team can change their test plans accordingly. Coverage. To ensure that the QA team has covered all the requirements in their test. This is essentially important when new requirements are added later in the project. System maintenance. If a tester who has developed test cases without using traceability leaves the organization, how would the replacing tester come to know from which requirements the test cases came from? So, traceability is important. Tracing changes in Quality Center. You can instruct Quality Center to create alerts automatically and send email to notify those responsible when changes occur in your project that may impact the testing process. Traceability can be achieved in two ways: automatic alerts, follow-up alerts. Automatic traceability alerts. To generate automatic traceability alert, your Quality Center project administrator must activate traceability notification rules in project customization. Traceability notification rules are based on associations you make in Quality Center between requirements, tests, and defects. When an entity in your project changes, you are notified of any associated entities that may be impacted by the change. The following are the scenarios when a traceability alert could be generated. First, when a requirement change, the designers of the associated test are notified. When a requirement changes and it has associated test, all project users are notified. When the status of a defect changes to fix, the responsible tester of the test instance is notified. When a test runs successfully, the user assigned to the associated defects are notified. Let's look at this with an example. Say priority of a requirement is changed from low to urgent. When the tester logs in against the test for which the requirement is changed, he sees an red colored exclamation mark signifying a change in requirement. When the tester clicks the Trace Changes flag, the Trace Changes dialog box opens stating the requirements that have changed. Let's look at follow-up alerts. You can use follow-up flags to remind yourself to follow up on something. You can set follow-up flags for a test in test plan tree or test grid, a test instance in the execution grid, a Let's look at the features provided by Quality Center for analyzing testing process. Progress of requirements, test plan, test runs, and defect tracking can be evaluated by using Quality Center reports and graphs. You can generate reports and graphs at any time during the testing process from Quality Center. Following are the three methods for this purpose: generating reports, generating graphs, generating live analysis graphs. Let's look at how reports and graphs are generated. Quality Center reports and graphs help in analysis and quick decisions. Standard reports and graphs are available in each module like summary, progress, or trend. Reports and graphs can be customized as per requirements. Let's generate a standard requirements report and customize the report for a specific username and add it to your favorites folder. In the requirements module, click Analysis, Reports, Standard Requirements Report. The report opens displaying the default data. Click the Configure Report and Sub-Reports button. Click the filter icon. The filter dialog box opens up. Under the author, give condition KR2625 my ID. Click OK. In the field section, you can also customize the fields that are visible in the report. Let's stick to the defaults. Click the Apply button. The customized report is now generated. To add the report to favorites, click Add to Favorites button. Give name as Standard Requirements by Author. You have an option to have this favorite as private or public. Click OK. The report is now reflected in the reports tree. You can manage the favorites using the Edit Favorites button. Now, let's generate a defect graph to summarize the defects by status and priority levels. In the Defects module, choose Analysis, Graphs, Summary, Group by Status. By default, the graph is grouped by status. Let's set a filter to display graphs or defects greater than severity 2 which are closed. To do so, click the Filter button. Select defect status as closed. Click OK. Select priority greater than equal to severity 2. Click OK. Click OK again to close the filter dialog box. Click the refresh button to generate a new report. In the x-axis, choose priority. The graph shows there are 836 defects with severity 2 in closed status and 241 defects with severity 3 in closed status. If you click on the bar segment of the graph, the drill down results dialog box is shown. That is the defects that are comprising the first bar of the graph. If you click the pie chart tab, the graph is displayed as pie chart. If you click the data grid tab, the graph data is displayed in a grid. You can create live analysis to provide a dynamic and quick visual overview of all tests in test subject folder or test sets in test set folder. Live analysis differs from graphs in that you do not have to recreate the graph to view the data that has changed, hence the name live. Also, the layout and settings of the graphs are preserved when you select another folder in the same module. In the test plan folder, select the subject folder as reports, click the Live Analysis tab. The Live Analysis pane is divided into two sections, each of which can display a graph. Click the Add Graph link. The Graph Wizard dialog box is shown. Select Graph Type as Summary, click Next. Select Group By as Execution Status, click Next. Select X-axis as Designer, click Finish. The live analysis graph is shown in the pane you have selected. The graph properties are shown at the top of the graph. If you switch between folders, the same properties of the graph are maintained. Also, if you observe the subject folder A, right now the graph is empty since there are no tests in this folder. I go ahead and create a test in this folder. The test is created. I once again select the subject folder A and the live analysis, and the graph is updated. So live analysis provides for dynamic update of data.